It's time to lock in. We're talking SEC, college football, and more. This is AP as we see it.
I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I'm all about that action. I said I'm all about that action.
Hi, I'm AP Steadham from LA, Lower Alabama. This is AP as we see it, a syndicated weekly 1-hour show discussing the Southeastern Conference and always keeping an eye on the national college football scene and other sports. Welcome to this week's edition. We're happy to be here, and we have a very special guest we'll mention for our segments 3 and 4, but we want to get to our social media platforms first. Check out AP as we see it on our YouTube channel. It has our show that's archived there, along with all the events and the interviews that I conduct throughout the year, and also on my personal YouTube channel at AP Steadham, and then on our Facebook, our Instagram, our X account, and of course, all the episodes are archived on Spotify as well. So that's at AP as we see it on the Facebook, the Instagram, and the X account, and then the personal one at AP Steadham, and the Spotify is at AP as we see it. So as I said, we got a very special guest. He's going to be discussing the Arkansas Razorbacks, and we had a chance to visit with Andrew Hutchinson, and he's been covering Arkansas for quite a few years, but he gave us some insight into their program and what's going on over there with the Razorbacks. Andrew Hutchinson is the managing editor of Best of Arkansas Sports, so he'll be in segment 3 and 4. And check him out. He's got a lot to say about the Razorbacks, and Sam Pittman on the hot seat and Bobby Petrino, the OC. But we want to thank our sponsors first, Greer's Markets, 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. And they have a contest going on. They're 109 and fine, been serving the area for 109 years. So you can check out some of the games and contests they have with $109. You can win a gift card, and then there's a grand prize of $9,009. So Greer's Market's been around for 109 years, 109 and fine. 29 locations, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi. Lucy's Famous Recipes are online, plus her new book you can buy in the store and online as well. And then their Groceries to Go delivers to the home, the office, any venue that you choose. For all those football events, basketball, baseball, softball, gymnastics, those SEC events that you love to watch, have the Groceries to Go deliver those items to you. And they have the weekly specials online. They have the special occasions for the holidays, the birthdays, the anniversaries, the fresh produce, the dinner essentials, delicious food and snacks at unbeatable prices. And remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it. Greer's Markets, 29 locations. Check that out. And we'll also like to mention our sponsor, Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia, downtown Atlanta. I'll be staying there next week for the SEC Media Days. They have their spacious rooms, the pool indoor with a serene tropical setting. It's right in the heart of Atlanta. There are restaurants at the hotel, outstanding buffet breakfast every morning. On weekends, they cook to order. They have another restaurant as well, and a bar and lounge. And Ben Giacomo and his staff do an excellent job. There's parking on site as well. So check out the Cortland Grand Hotel, downtown Atlanta. But we like to get to the next 2 segments. What we're going to do is we're going to preview the 16 SEC teams. We're going to give our thoughts and observations, some question marks, some comments about the team. So we're going to get started here. No particular order. We're going to start with Auburn. Critical year for third-year head coach Hugh Freeze. He's 13 and 14 in the SEC. The quarterback whisperer. He needs to talk loudly to those quarterbacks. Jackson Arnold, the transfer from Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma, and Deuce Knight, the freshman. Ashton Daniels, the Stanford transfer as well. So the quarterback situation right now, that's a question mark until it's materializes during the season. Let's see what they can do. They're all talented. all talented quarterbacks, but they have to produce for Auburn this year in Hugh Freeze's third year. Also, the wide receivers, Cam Coleman, the sophomore, he had some flashes last year. They have a lot of transfers to Georgia Tech, Eric Singleton, Wake Forest, Horatio Fields, Malcolm Simmons is back. So the wide receivers should help those quarterbacks at Auburn and produce a better, more consistent offense. The offensive line, they have to be better. They have a transfer from Virginia Tech, Xavier Chaplin, left tackle, USC, the right tackle, transfer, Mason Murphy. The running backs average at best right now, but hey, they can prove me wrong. No problem with that. They have some transfers and things, but they can prove me wrong on that side of the ball. Defensively, they have to be better on third downs, turnovers. Can they take the ball away? Keldrick Falk is an excellent edge rusher. The junior, the linebackers are pretty steady. DeMarcus Riddick, he's a rising second-year sophomore player. Caleb Harrison, the secondary sophomore, cornerback champ Anthony. He's overcoming an injury, and the Miami transfer, Rayon Strader. He has 31 pass breakups in 2 years. So look out for some of those players for Auburn. Now we want to go to the next team on the list. Looking at LSU. LSU, Brian Kelly, the fourth year, 17-7 in the conference. He's lost his 3 season openers. I've been at every single one. Florida State twice at the Superdome, down in Orlando, and then in Las Vegas against USC. Garrett Newsome, a fifth-year quarterback, one of the better quarterbacks in the conference. So that should be a question mark that's answered. We know that. He's a good leader. They need some question mark is the run game. No question. They have to have some balance for that offense to help Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier. The secondary's got a lot of newcomers. I think there's 4 transfers back there. And I don't think it's so much the talent, but it's this cohesiveness. When you have a secondary, the last line of defense, they have to be on the same page. So that secondary, that's a question mark. The offensive line, there's only one starter that returns, so there's a question mark there. Harold Perkins is the very good talent at the linebacker position, but will they utilize him properly? He had an injury last year, an ACL, so he's trying to return from that knee injury. Whit Weeks was a very good linebacker for them, 125 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 10 tackles for losses. But those are some of the question marks with the LSU Tigers. The fourth year for Brian Kelly in the SEC. Like I said, Garrett Nussmeier, if you have an outstanding quarterback, you have a chance. With that defense, they've got to come to life and play much better in the SEC if they're going to challenge, as all the LSU fans expect them to in the coming years, in this coming year, to be part of that championship run and make the play, especially with 12 teams. All the fans in the SEC expect their team to be in the playoff now, considering they're taking 12 teams and then moving forward, and it'd probably be about 16. We were going to look at the number 3 team, the Oklahoma Sooners under Brent Venables. This is his fourth year. He's 2-6 in his first year at the SEC. They have two of the best dynamic offensive transfers in all of college football. Washington State quarterback John Mateer, 3,000 plus yards, 29 touchdowns. Plus he rushed for over 815 TDs. Plus they brought the OC from Washington State. That's a great combination. The Cal transfer, the running back Jaden Ott, I've seen him play a couple of times against SEC talent, against Auburn twice, 2,000 plus yards, 20 TDs. He can be an All-American for you, all conference at the least. Jaden Ott, very good football player, 95 receptions. That's an exceptional number for a running back to have that many catches out of the backfield. I hope Oklahoma uses him correctly, because he's definitely a threat catching the ball out of the backfield. The wide receivers last year, they were decimated at Oklahoma. So will the wide receivers, will they be healthy? And if they are, with John Mateer at the helm, I think that'll be an improvement. The offensive line is more experienced. They have a transfer, Derek Simmons at the tackle position. Last year, the offensive line, 8 tackles for losses, 4 sacks per game, definitely have to improve in that area. The defense should be strong. Usually Brent Venables, his defenses are very good. So I don't think that's a serious question, but you never know. Every year is different. But Oklahoma under Brent Venables is usually has a pretty good defense. But like I said, that offense with John Mateer, the quarterback that transferred from Washington State, and Jaden Knott, I'm really excited to watch them as a dynamic duo play for the Sooners. I expect big things from those two to have a turnaround because it'll put less pressure on the defense. We all know that it's complementary football. Last year, half a dozen receivers were injured. Their quarterback situation was in flux. They had to end up using Michael Hawkins, a freshman, and then Jackson Arnold had his moments, but he ended up transferring. So, but anyway, we're going to be right back after these messages. We're going to continue our discussion of all the SEC teams, some thoughts, some comments, and some observations. So we shall be right back after these messages with segment 2 of AP as we see it. And we're back with AP as we see it, and we want to continue our discussion of all the SEC teams. We have to hustle here. We have 11 teams to preview. South Carolina, Shane Beamer, 15 and 17. He's in his 5th year. Lenora Sellers, a sophomore quarterback. He could be exceptional, maybe the best quarterback in the conference, maybe one of the better ones in the country. So that's a question mark if he can be improved reading defenses and more consistency. And can the offense carry the team? Because I think that defense is not going to be as strong. They have to cut down on the turnovers. They have a young wide receiving core. The offensive line, let's see what happens there. The quarterback is running around a little bit in 2024. Dylan Stewart can be better this year. The edge rusher, he was very good. Can he absorb some of those double teams now? Jalen Kilgore, the safety, 5 interceptions, 48 tackles, led the Gamecocks, led the SEC in interceptions, actually. So outstanding quarterback. Let's see if they can repeat and get a little bit better next year. So that's team number 4. Looking at team number 5, Georgia. Kirby Smart, 10th year, 61 and 12 in the SEC. We know he has the national championships, winning the conference. Even with some issues last year, ranking way down or 100 and something in rushing, they were able to win the conference and make the playoffs. So Gunnar Stockton, the new quarterback, can he have some explosive plays and be consistent? The wide receivers definitely much improved. Watch out for this transfer from USC, Zachariah Branch. A lot of speed. He could bring the fear factor to that Bulldog offense. The revival of the rush, as I said, last year, 100 and something in the 90s. I mean, they've got to get much better. That's not characteristic of a Kirby Smart team. The tight ends, they have some talent, but I think they disappeared in some of the big games. Can the tight ends have a better year? The running backs, better production. Nate Frazier, a good-looking player. Can he get some more yardage in that run game? Illinois transfer, Josh McCrary, big running back. He's an addition. The defensive line, they gave up 150 yards 5 times. That doesn't happen with the Bulldogs defense. Can be a turnaround? Their defensive line, 150 yards 5 times. Watch out for this Army transfer. Elo Madozi, 6.5 sacks, 34 tackles. I like him. I like him as a very good addition. Secondary is very talented. Let's see if they can live up to their billing. We go to team number 6 right now. Looking at we're gonna go to the next team here. What number is that now? We're at Georgia's number 5. Let's go to Mississippi State. Jeff Lebby, 2nd year. SEC is 0-8. That was his first year. Blake Shapen was hurt. He threw for 8 TDs and 1 interception before being injured. The Baylor transfer injured the 4th game. The running back, Devon Booth, 1,200 yards, all-purpose yards. Good wide receiver core. 4 transfers. The offensive line is a question mark. The defense got to get better than 10 sacks. That's a porous defense overall, but 10 sacks is not going to really help your cause. Isaac Smith, the safety, think about this, 127 tackles, led the SEC. The cornerback position, there's a question mark there. So, I mean, that's looking at Mississippi State. Let's go on to Texas A&M University. Mike Elko, 5-3 in the conference. His second year had a good year. Marcel Reed, 1,800 yards, 15 TDs, 6 INTs. The passing game, I think they need to improve there. They have some transfers from North Carolina State and Mississippi State. The offensive line, that should be a strength. They have a lot of experience there. 7 players. The running backs, four of them return. Le'Veon Moss was injured last year, so he's going to return. Can he return to being an outstanding player in the SEC? The tight ends need to improve. They have some transfers there. The defense with Willie the third, they call him the blanket, the Kansas State transfer. He's a senior, so he's one of the strong points for that defense. They have to improve the sacks and pressure on the quarterback. Pressure on the quarterback for sure. Let's look at the next team on the list. We'll look at number 9 is Texas. Steve Sarkisian, 7-1 in the conference. This is his 5th year. Quarterback Arch Manning. It's prove it now time for Arch Manning. This is the Arch Manning era. 1 starter returns on the offensive line, question mark there. But we know that Texas has recruited well. The running back situation, Quintravian Wisner, 1,064, 5 TDs, and plus they have the return of the injured C.J. Baxter. He's a good-looking running back as well. The wide receivers, they're young. They have some freshmen, Kalik Lockett, a good player. Ryan Wingo, the sophomore, he was very good for them last year. The tight ends, 2 big tight ends, 6'4" and 6'7". But watch out for this Cal transfer, Jack Endries. 91 receptions, 1,000+ yards, 4 TDs in a couple of years coming over from Cal. The defense, the middle linebacker might be the best player, Anthony Hill Jr. 113 tackles, 16.5 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, 4 fumbles. The defensive lines, a lot of transfers there. The secondary should be a strong unit for them. Okay, moving on to the next team. We got number 10, Arkansas. Sam Pittman, 6th season, 14-21 in the SEC. His seat is hot, as we know. Taylon Green, the quarterback, the transfer from Boise State. Can he be better reading defenses under this Bobby Petrino offense? The offense, a lot of transfers looking to contribute at running back, offensive line, wide receiver, tight end. So the big running backs, the transfers are 220 pounds, 235 pounds. The defense, it has the potential to improve with these transfers. Last year, 30 fumbles. Not good enough. You got to overcome those turnovers and get better possessing the ball. That's been a feature of Sam Pittman's teams. The linebackers should be a strength. The defensive line, can they have a good enough pass rush? And the defensive backs, they have to come together for sure. Now we go to the next team is Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, 6th season, 25-16 in the SEC. Austin Simmons, the new quarterback, 6'4", 215. He's going to be on stage, replacing the 3-year starter Jackson Dart. The wide receivers, they have a transfer from Oklahoma State, Stribling, and then Penn State Wallace. So 2 pretty good transfers at the wide receiver position. The tight end, Daquan Wright. The offensive line, they're filling in some spots. They have 5 pretty good starters. They have the depth of the young and new. So the starting 5 should be fine. Logan Diggs coming back from the ACL, the transfer from Notre Dame and LSU. The defense, the edge rushers, they're prospects right now. The linebacker unit should be strong. The talent in the secondary, they have the 4 transfers. So once again, it's a question of cohesiveness. And then the red zone scoring on defense. Can they do better in that area? Then we're going to look at Florida. Billy Napier, 3rd year, 8-13 in the conference. Turnover issues. Too many turnovers there. So that's a question mark. DJ Lagway, the quarterback, very good. He's going to be a sophomore. Can he reach the next level for that team? He must be one of the top players for the Gators to improve and have a better chance. You have Jay Michaels, Sturdivant, the transfer from Cal and UCLA. Very productive all those years at those 2 schools. He's a good addition to the offensive. It stalled against the better teams because they play much better against the stronger teams. Wide receiver, they need more production. The offensive line should be improved. This might be the best offensive line since Napier arrived. And the defense, rushing, stop the rush, and third down stops. And then the linebackers in secondary should be fine. Should be fine. Okay, let's look at Mizzou. Eli Drinkwitz, sixth year, 22-20 in the SEC. Quarterback, Penn State transfer, Bo Prabula. Rush for 10 rushing touchdowns, 500 yards. He's a dual threat quarterback. Can they win against the better teams? Missouri's done very well with their record, but can they win against the better teams? The offensive line should be excellent. The wide receivers, Mississippi State transfer, Kevin Coleman, 74 receptions, 832 yards, 6 TDs. Running back, Ahmad Hardy from Louisiana Monroe, 1,100 yards, 13 TDs. That'll help them out. Defense, better on the pass rush. Got to get better on third downs. West Virginia transfer, Josiah Trotter, 92 tackles. So this could be the best Missouri team. We shall find out, though. We shall find out about Mizzou. Let's look at the next team. Kentucky, Mark Stoops. Transfers on the offense will probably take 9 positions. Zach Calzada, Texas A&M. Auburn, he didn't play, was injured. Incarnate Word, he's the new quarterback. Kendrick Law, the transfer from Alabama. The offensive line, they got a couple of transfers from the MAC and Conference USA. The secondary, Jordan Lovett's a good ball player. On the edge, they have the South Dakota transfer, McQueese Humphrey. And look for the defensive lineman also, David Gustav from Washington State. And we're going to look at the last couple teams here. Should be Vanderbilt and Alabama. Let's see here. Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia. We know he's a very good quarterback, winning quarterback. Can the offense do better? 318 yards last year, but they had low on turnovers. Can they repeat that? Low on turnovers. The tight end, Eli Stover's returns. They have some transfer wide receivers. The defense was solid. Bend but don't break. They have to be better on third downs. Finally, Alabama. Ty Simpson's the new quarterback. Can he be the quarterback, or will they have to come with the transfer from Washington, Austin Mack, or Keelan Russell off the bench, the sensational freshman for Alabama? So Alabama's question mark with the quarterback for certain, and Kalen DeBoer, second year, 5-3 in the conference. Offensive line got to be better with the run blocking. Ryan Williams, the wide receivers and company, they will be better. I predict they will be better. The defense is as strong as advertised. The secondary is loaded, and the defensive line looks very good, and the linebackers competent as well. Yeah, let's talk about Tennessee before we leave. Josh Heupel, 20-12. This will be his 8th season. The transfer portal was lacking for star power, but they did get the quarterback, Joey Aguilar, Appalachian State. He was at UCLA for 5 minutes, so a lot is dependent upon his play, but Josh Heupel usually gets the most out of the quarterback situation. Mike Matthews, he was a 5-star receiver. Can he reach that level? The offense, there's only 3 starters returning, so there's a big question mark there. The defense, you have the edge rusher, Joshua Joseph, and then Jermod McCoy, the cornerback. So Tennessee's a lot of question marks. The roster was vacated by a lot of players. But anyway, we'll come back after these messages with AP as we see it.
Hi, I'm AP Steadham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greer's.com and use groceries to go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.
And we're back with AP as we seat in our very special guest, Andrew Hutchinson, managing editor of Best of Arkansas Sports. Andrew, how'd you get that title, the Best of Arkansas Sports? I like that.
Yeah, that's our website. You can go to bestofarkansassports.com, and it's just my latest gig, as I've been doing this for a little bit over a decade now.
Arkansas is always an interesting state. The dynamics of the University of Arkansas through the years, they support that football team. They're very rabid, vociferous, and they'll let you know if you're playing well or you're not. And they'll tell the other fans too that visit the stadiums and arenas. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, and they'll also let you know it if they feel like they're getting disrespected. They'll say, "Oh, ESPN hates the Hogs" or whatever. Depending on what happens, they're but they're
Right.
passionate. I think that's the best way to put it.
That's great. We love passionate fans, Andrew. Andrew, Sam Pittman, what is the temperature in Fayetteville, Arkansas before the season? I know it gets hot up there, but for Sam Pittman.
I think it's pretty warm. I would say, his hot seat is pretty warm. They did kind of right the ship a little bit last year. I mean, 2 years ago was a disaster. I think they went 4-8,
Yeah.
fired their offensive coordinator mid-season. Just
Yes.
did not fit well. That was Dan Enos. They brought in Bobby Petrino. Everybody knows about him as the offensive coordinator, and they had some good moments, but they also had some games that really kind of slipped away that they probably should have won. I mean, looking back at it, Oklahoma State was a top 25 team when they played. They ended
Yes.
up being really, really bad. I mean, they went 3-9, and one of those 3 wins was against Arkansas, a game that they really, frankly, should have won, but they collapsed down the stretch. There were some other games as well where they were close, and that's kind of been a kind of a calling card for Sam Pittman. Is there's been so many close games that they could have won, but they didn't. Like, his record in one possession games is not very good at all. So I think that that has left some frustration. Whereas maybe the national people on the outside looking in is like, well, they righted shit. They went from 4-8 to 7-6.
Yes.
But I think Arkansas fans want more than that. They're tired of seeing maybe the same things happening over and over again. And we'll see if they can right the ship this year and make it to another bowl game.
Andrew, fumbles was an issue last year, was it not? Fumbles?
Yeah, I mean,
how are
honestly,
they addressing that? Yeah.
Honestly, fumbles have been kind of a hallmark of Sam Pittman's teams since he's been here since 2020. I mean, because I remember it being an issue last year. I remember going back and looking it up, and Arkansas leads the country, all of FBS, in fumbles since the year 2020. And that's all fumbles, not just fumbles lost.
Right.
They may lead that as well. I didn't look that up, but
Yes.
they were critical. And then there are fumbles of all kinds too. Like I remember, there's been some muff punts. Those go down as fumbles. That was what the turning point of the Oklahoma State game I mentioned was. There's been fumbles by wide receivers after making a catch. There was one of those in the Texas game. Arkansas, as good as Texas was last year, played Texas very competitively in Fayetteville. Only lost by 10, and they were driving the ball, had a chance to make it a one-possession game when a wide receiver catches a pass and fumbles it, loses the fumble. There's been, bobbled snaps. There's been fumbled handoffs between the quarterback and running back mesh point. There's been all sorts of them, and I'm not sure how you go about fixing that, but I do know it has to be a point of emphasis for Arkansas this offseason and going into fall camp.
Andrew, I like their quarterback, Taylon Green, the transfer from Boise State, 6'5" or so. What is he, 230, close to 240, whatever it may be. Athletic. I don't think he's the best passer, but he's competent, and you can win ball games with him, obviously. What has Bobby Petrino said and Sam Pittman about Taylon Green and he must do this year to help the team win more games?
I think it's as simple as taking care of the ball. I think that goes back to our previous point. A lot of those fumbles Taylon Green was involved in, either from the mesh point, like I was talking about, or him running, because he is a mobile quarterback, very athletic. Sometimes he runs a little bit loose with the ball. That's something that's going to have to be corrected. And then he also made a few bad decisions on some throws he probably shouldn't have made, leading to some interceptions and maybe even some more should have been interceptions that maybe the defensive back didn't come down with. So I think that's probably the number one point of emphasis for him this offseason is improving his decision-making and taking care of the ball. If he does that, I think he's an extremely good quarterback. I mean, you look at it last year, his total yardage between rushing and passing was the second most in a single season in school history, behind a guy named Ryan Mallett, who was pretty good. Yeah. So he's got all of the talent and the skill in the world. He just got to fix that decision making and everything. And I think maybe being in year 2 in Bobby Petrino's system should also help in that regard.
Yeah, usually they'll take a deep breath in that second year. They relax. It's things are slower, and they've grasped that offense and the coaching by the offensive coordinator and the head coach and be the leader. Is Taylon a good leader for the team? Is he
Oh, yeah. For sure. I mean, that's the number one thing about him, that he probably asserted himself very early on last year. Even something that Sam Pittman brought up a lot is, the team just kind of gravitates to him because he does kind of take on that leadership role. I mean, he seems like a really good dude, just genuinely, down to
Right.
earth, great with the fans. I mean, just seems to really embrace everything about being a quarterback in the SEC. So, a really good leader, and I think that's maybe one of his top traits, in addition to just his sheer athleticism and God-given talent.
Mhm. When you're speaking about football teams, particularly Andrew, there's two classes, I guess. There's the returning players and then the transfer. So let's look at some returning players on offense that could help Taylor Green and company.
Well, honestly, there's not a whole lot.
Right.
They have to replace a lot. I mean, Andrew Armstrong comes to mind immediately. That's the leading wide receiver. I think he led
Big
the
receiver.
SEC. He's gone in the NFL, and they've had to overhaul their wide receiver room. They lost their top tight end, had to overhaul that. They do return Fernando Carmona up front on the offensive line. He's a key member of that unit. He was the starting left tackle last year. He's going to be sliding inside the left guard this year, according based on what we saw during spring ball. I think it's going to be a good move for him. I think he's probably the number one kind of returner outside of Taylor Green on offense. And then maybe one other guy at running back is Braylon Russell. He was a promising freshman last year, had some really good moments. Wasn't the most consistent guy in the world, but he's a guy that I think they're looking forward to making a really big jump as a sophomore out of the backfield as well. So I mean, those are probably the top returners on the offensive side of the ball, just because they lost so much either to guys running out of eligibility or hopping in the portal.
Right. He's a big bruiser, that running back you mentioned. Is he not? Is he about 230, 235, Andrew?
Yeah. I think last year he played at like 250.
Oh my
And I
goodness, I
think
didn't know it was that big.
that was a point of emphasis for him this year. Is he can't be quite that big. I think he is down to about 230, 235, somewhere around there. Still has that bruiser mentality, but hopefully he's got a little bit more stamina. A guy that can maybe break some more tackles, even without as much weight, but being able to be quicker and things like that. I think they're really expecting some big things from him this year.
Has Bobby Petrino, has he implemented the full scheme, his full scheme of offense with regards to Taylor Green, or you think you're going to see more?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think they'll probably see a little bit more just because he's going to be more comfortable. But I think a lot of it's going to hinge on, who I'm sure we're going to talk about here momentarily, all the new guys. I mean, the entire wide receiver room pretty much is new, with portal guys. A couple of freshmen might contribute. Tight ends, the offensive line has to be better. I think that was maybe a limiting factor with the offense last year, which, by the way, the offense was really good. If you go look at total offense in the country, they were top 10.
Yeah.
They were I think outside of the top 30 in scoring. So they didn't always convert. That goes back to all the turnovers we talked about. But they are a really good unit. And Bobby Petrino, I think, was pretty good last year. And I think he should only be able to implement even more, having a returning starting quarterback.
Less than 2 minutes. Does Bobby Petrino's offense, does he like the tight end?
Well, I mean, he did when he was here as the head coach back in, from I guess it was 2008 to 2011. They had the John Mackey Award winner and DJ Williams. So he was a vital piece of that offense. But we didn't really see it last year. I mean, because Luke Has, who's now at Ole Miss, it was really good, and we saw it the previous year when he was a freshman before he got hurt. Was a really talented tight end, just wasn't ever really involved in Bobby Petrino's offense. So I think that they would like to get the tight end a little bit more involved this year. Maybe that's another area where the playbook can maybe expand. And I think some of that falls on Taylor Green, being comfortable throwing the ball over the middle.
Yeah, I always thought that. I always say it all the time on the show that the tight end, if you have an exceptional athlete at that position, that's the best matchup against the defense. If you have a big, tall, strong, fast tight end, if I'm the quarterback, I'm doing everything I can to get him the football and throw it to him, and making sure he has chocolate milkshakes on Sundays and everything else I need to do to make him happy. But Andrew, we're going to take a little break here. That when we come back, we're going to go over some of those newcomers on the offense and the defense, and we're going to discuss some things that are happening at the University of Arkansas Athletic Department with the finances.
Hi, I'm AP Steadham for Greer's Markets. If you're planning a big party or for every day, shop at Greer's for delicious food, beverages, and snacks. Save time and money by checking on Greers.com and use Groceries to Go to get your Greer's groceries delivered. Look at the weekly ad for more information. 29 locations in Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, serving the region since 1916. Remember, Greer's got it. They guarantee it.
We're back with AP as we see it with our very special guest, Andrew Hutchinson, the managing editor of Best of Arkansas Sports. I love that title, Best of Arkansas Sports. It's not second best or middle of the road. It's Best of Arkansas Sports with Andrew Hutchinson, managing editor. Andrew, some of those newcomers on the offensive side, who do you like to tell people about when you're discussing this Arkansas football team of 2025?
Boy, there's a lot of them. We could start anywhere. I think I'll go with the wide receivers because there's so many of them, and we're not 100% sure who all of that group is going to end up being the guy. But I mean, we saw Raylan Sharp. He's a transfer from Fresno State who before that was at Missouri State. So he played for Bobby Petrino at Missouri State. So he's kind of got a little bit more familiarity, and we saw that throughout spring. He just seemed to know the offense better. He's kind of a smaller guy, fast guy in the slot. He's a guy that I think is going to play a lot and be a big contributor for them. And then maybe on the outside, I mean, Omega Blake is a guy they brought in. It's supposed to be really good. He's a transfer from Charlotte. You look at his numbers last year, obviously there's a huge jump in play from Charlotte into the SEC. But he averaged a ton of yards per catch. I think almost like 25 yards per catch. So he's a big play threat. He started out slow in spring ball, but came on strong as the spring progressed, as he got more comfortable. I think he's going to be a vital piece of this offense. I also like Ishmael Cece. He's a transfer from Stanford, a guy that played a little bit at Stanford last year. I wasn't really sure what they were getting when they got him in, but he exceeded my expectations during spring ball. So I think he's a guy that's going to be a contributor. And they also brought in a couple other wide receivers out of the portal during the spring period. I don't really know anything about those guys because I didn't have a chance to see them in the spring. And then at tight ends, had to overhaul that position as well. They brought in Rohan Jones, transfer from Montana State, coming up from the FCS ranks, but he was highly productive at that level. I think they like what they have in him. He's not the biggest guy in the world at the tight end spot, but more of a pass catching threat. Jaden Platt, a guy from Texas A&M, another guy who's familiar with Bobby Petrino. From his time as the Aggies offensive coordinator last year. He's a guy that, was banged up a little bit during the spring, so I didn't get a super good look at him, but I think I like a little bit I saw from him. And then also at running back, they brought in Mike Washington, a transfer running back from, I believe, New Mexico. New Mexico or New Mexico State, one of those two.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you're right.
He was another guy that looks impressive in the time that I saw him. And honestly, I think he might end up being the starting running back over Braylon Russell, the rising sophomore that we talked about earlier. So and then of course, offensive line was completely overhauled. We could go over all those guys, but I mean, the theme is they brought in a whole new group because last year's group just didn't cut it. They were not nearly as good as they needed to be. They were better than the previous year, but not quite to the Sam Pittman level that we expect, given his background as an offensive line coach. So I think that's probably, the most important group on the offense is that offensive line group and the guys they brought in up front.
Mm-hmm. Andrew, how would you describe Bobby Petrino's passing offense?
He likes to pass it. I'll say that. He is definitely a guy that likes to air it out a little bit. He also really likes having the dual threat quarterback. He didn't necessarily have that here at Arkansas with his quarterbacks, but obviously we saw it at Louisville with Lamar Jackson. And he's got that in Taylor Green. And I think that opens up the passing game when you've got that threat of a quarterback who can run. Last year, I don't even know if we really saw the full, Bobby
spectrum.
Yeah, because the one thing is Taylor Green was so locked into Andrew Armstrong. I mean, he caught 60 something passes last year, and no one else caught above more than 30 or something like that. It was crazy how much he locked into one guy. I'm curious if maybe the new weapons that Taylor Green has to work with might force him to look in the full array of options and we might see that full Bobby Petrino passing attack. He likes to spread it around. We saw that when he was here as a head coach at Arkansas. Multiple wide receivers were catching a lot of passes. So I think that's going to be a difference from last year to this year, is maybe the ball gets spread out a little bit more in that passing attack.
Yeah, that's good for your quarterback to have balance because, as you said, the one person can catch a lot of passes, but it's really limiting and puts you in a predicament when he's out of the game or he might become injured or something like that. But we're going to shift over to the defense, Andrew. What do you think about the defense? A lot of transfers over on that side as well.
Yeah, Travis Williams, defensive coordinator, had to kind of overhaul that side of the ball. I mean, they're losing Landon Jackson, their best player. The defensive ends got drafted, is in the NFL now. That's going to be hard to replace. And I don't know if they have a guy on that defensive line that can replace him. That's going to be a major question mark on that defense, is can they get after the quarterback, which is a vital part of what Travis Williams likes to do. He's kind of an attacking defensive coordinator, likes to get after the quarterback. And I'm not sure if they have that guy. They do have a guy coming back in the middle of that defensive line in Cam Ball that I think is going to be solid. They've got a guy coming back in middle linebacker in Xavier Sori. That's going to help. And they've got a guy coming back at safety in Larry Worth, who I think is going to be really solid. So kind of like through the middle of the field, they have some experience, some veteran presence there, talent. But maybe as you spread out around the rest of the 11 guys on the field, maybe is more question marks, I would say.
Andrew, they played pretty well defensively most of the time, had a few lapses in those tight losses, correct?
Yeah, for the most part. There were some games where they just got lit up. I mean, I think back to the Ole Miss game last year. I mean, they got torched. That it was ugly. But I feel like they've had some games where they've played pretty well and good enough to win, and maybe the offense just didn't get the turnovers they needed. I think the thing that I remember about last year's defense is they weren't keen on getting turnovers themselves. Like, they would get some stops, they were solid or whatever, but you need a defense that can take the ball away every now and then.
That's it.
They didn't do that a whole lot last year, nearly as much as they did the previous year. In Travis Williams' first year when they went 4-8, because I thought that defense was a lot better than what you'd expect on a 4-8 team.
Right. Andrew, is there any freshmen on the offensive side, defensive side, return game, special teams that you'd like to mention?
I mean, this day and age, it's harder for freshmen to come in and contribute with the portal. There's a few guys. I mean, I think J.J. Shelton comes to mind on defense. He's a guy that could maybe contribute as like a nickel back, get in the rotation there. Tavion Wallace is a guy definitely I got to mention. He's a linebacker. Probably not going to start, at least initially, but he was a top 100 recruit, a guy that, I mean, I think Florida State thought they had him in the bag, and then Arkansas swooped in and got him at the last second. He's a guy that is really heralded. I think he's going to be a guy that plays at worst as a backup, as a guy that rotates in at linebacker. That comes to mind. I mean, then maybe on the offensive side, maybe Antonio Jordan. He's a wide receiver. He comes from a small town in Arkansas, Warren, Arkansas. It's the same hometown as Traylon Burks came from. Same hometown as, if you go back even further, Jarius Wright, Greg Childs, those guys. It's a kind of a, I mean, I think the town's got like 5,000 people in it, and they produce NFL wide receivers like crazy. So I would never discount a guy coming from Warren. Plus, he's, I think, the biggest wide receiver they have on the team in terms of size. It's just a matter of, can he adjust the physicality of the SEC? Can he adjust, pick up the playbook, things like that? He was not an early enrollee, so I don't have a feel for him just yet. But he's a guy that I'm gonna keep keeping an eye on during fall camp.
Hey, last couple of minutes, Andrew. We're going to bring up the cuts in the athletic department. What can you tell us about that? And is that being received well by the Arkansas faithful?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's become a trend across the country. I've seen Oklahoma, Kansas, USC just recently. So it's not just Arkansas, but the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, the state newspaper here, reported that they're cutting 10% of their staff. They're hoping to save about $2.5 million to go toward all this rev share that we always hear about. And so it's kind of a fact of life. But one guy they did let go that was laid off was a guy named Kevin Trainer. He's a guy who's been in the athletic department for more than 3 decades.
Yes,
He
I know
is,
Kevin.
Razorback through and through. You'll hear his voice next week at SEC Media Days because he's the moderator during the press conference, who's calling on all the reporters to ask questions to the head coaches. Widely, nationally respected. He was let go. And that's just, to me, it's a mistake because he's a guy that has so much institutional knowledge. And I think a lot of people in Arkansas may be a little bit upset that he was one of the guys cut. But at the same time, I also don't envy Hunter Yurchek, the athletic director, his position, having to come up with an extra $20.5 million that you didn't have to come up with previously.
Yeah, it's a dilemma for all the athletic directors across the country, but I think there's so much money being spread around. You dislike the fact that someone has to be relieved of their responsibilities because there's coaches at the top level, 13 million, 10 million, 11, 12 million. And you're saying you have to cut the administrative assistant or somebody of that ilk. So, but
Yeah.
anyhow, I think it's regrettable in the long run. And that you see it in professional sports when they make those 10% cuts. It's always the person at the bottom. And I'm thinking, really, somebody at the top's making millions and millions. You can't just have a 10% overall cut. But anyway, hey, this is the end of the show. Hey, Andrew Hutchinson, we really thank you, managing editor of Best of Arkansas Sports. Check him out. And this is another episode of AP As We See It. We thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week.